Okay, so my study is titled Moderators of the Effectiveness of Brief Negotiation Intervention for Harmful Alcohol Use in Injured Adults at Northern Zone Referral Hospital in Tanzania. Just the study overview. This statistical analysis plan outlines the analysis plan for secondary analysis of the PPKY randomized control trial. Sorry, there's a lot of noise here. Sorry. So this statistical analysis
Doreen.
plan,
is that okay?
Okay. Outlines the analysis plan for secondary analysis of the PPKY randomized control trial conducted at KSMC Emergency Department. And I did my follow-up from 2020 to 2025 with the aim of studying the moderators of the effectiveness of brief negotiation intervention in reducing harmful alcohol use among injured adults. So my broad objective is to evaluate moderators of effectiveness of brief negotiation intervention for harmful alcohol use in injured adults presenting to the KSMC Emergency Department from 2020 to 2025. And specifically, I'm going to assess the average reduction of harmful alcohol use among injured adults in the brief negotiation intervention group compared to those receiving the usual care at KSMC Emergency Department. Sorry, now it's 3 months because of the number of the participants. So initially I was doing 12 months follow-up, but currently I'm doing 3 months follow-up. And then I'm going to examine the factors that moderate the effectiveness of brief negotiation intervention in reducing harmful alcohol use among injured adults presenting to KSMC Emergency Department from 2020 to 2025. So the study design and the data source, this is a secondary analysis of the PPKY trial, I said earlier, and PPKY data was collected at baseline, then 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, up to 24 months. So variables that I'm going to use, my outcome, of course, currently it has changed from audit after discussion with pioneers, Dr. Catherine and Joao. So it is from audit to binge drinking days. So binge drinking days from baseline to 3 months of follow-up, whereby my exposure or group assignment will be the brief negotiation intervention. And in my study, brief negotiation, the intervention group will be collapsed into one group. So all those people who received the intervention group will be into one group versus the usual care. And potential moderators, as identified from the previous literatures, are such as age, sex, baseline audit score, perceived seriousness of the event, alcohol type, mechanism of injury, drinking before incidents, and self-attribution to drinking, whereby I'm going to test each moderator separately with a group. For example, as described in table 1, so this table shows moderators, how they were collected according to the current data source, the type of data itself, and then the original category, and then how I'm going to code it in my analysis. So for example, age was coded in years, and this was self-reported, so it is continuous, and I'm going to keep it as continuous, but for sensitivity analysis, I'm going to categorize according to WHO. And then coming to sex, I'm going to code as female and males. And then baseline audits. So this is a 10-item audit administered at enrollment. So at the end of the day, I'm going to have total audit score, which I'm going to assess it as continuous score. And then there is perceived seriousness of the event. And the question was asked, how serious is the injury? And then I have different categories such as not serious, somewhat serious, and very serious and life-threatening. But my reference group is going to be not serious. And then coming to the type of alcohol. So the different types of alcohol that were listed, there's beer, wine, traditional brew, but I'm going to put beer as the reference. And then we have a mechanism of injury, whereby there are different mechanisms of injury that were listed. but road traffic injury is going to be my reference group. Then coming to drinking before the incidents, the question was asked, had you consumed alcohol before the injury? So it is the binary response, yes or no. And then self-attribution to injury, do you believe alcohol contributed to your injury? Then yes and no question. So data will be imported from REDCap, which we already have it. And the primary data set will be used for analysis, will be cleaned and merged, but all this data, we already have it. So what I just did was to check for duplicates and outliers, recording the categorical variables, and then creating derived variables. So missing data greater than 10% will be handled using multiple imputation, using missing at random, and then sensitivity analysis will be used to compare compared imputed versus complete case results. So for the case of my first part of the analysis, I started with complete case analysis. So according to the primary current study, up to 3 months, I had a follow-up of 543 because we started with 674 and then 131 patients had missing during discharge, or they had missings in another way out. So at the end of the day, we have 543 patients at 3 months follow-up. So this is the number of patients that I'm going to start with in complete case analysis. Coming to the descriptive part, so baseline characteristics of patients, I'm going to summarize them separately for BNI, that is the intervention group, and the case and the usual care, that is the control group. And then continuous variable, due to the skewness, I'm going to report them in terms of median. And then categorical variables, I'm going to summarize them in terms of frequency and percentages. So explanatory analysis, I'm going to use different visuals like histogram, box plot, and density plot to show the distribution. We are going to see this later in the first part of the analysis. So the first part is to see the effect of BNI on binge drinking. And then step one is the adjusted analysis, whereby I'm going to compare, sorry, I've written audit because I wrote it earlier before the discussion. Now it has changed. So I'm going to compare the audit binge drinking at 3 months between the BNI and the usual care. And then adjusted, I'm going to perform linear regression model for reduction of binge drinking from 3 months to baseline, like from baseline to 3 months. How much did they reduce the reduction of binge drinking? So this is my adjusted, this is the dummy table for my adjusted effect of BNI on binge drinking. So I'm going to have the groups, that is the BNI usual care, aging years, but I'm also going to have aging categorized according to WHO standard, which is also clinically relevant, but also the other categories as I specified earlier in table 1, such as perceived seriousness of the event, type of alcohol use, mechanism of injury, drinking before the incident, self-attribution. Yeah, and also these moderators are categorized as primary and secondary because these secondary are more of exploratory variables. So coming to moderation analysis, I'm going to examine the interaction term between the group and the moderator for each potential moderator. Yeah, so linear regression models for continuous moderator, stratified analysis for categorical moderator. Then I'm going to do subgroup mean difference with 95% confidence interval be presented. So this is the model that I'm going to use. And so far my moderation means the interaction group. That is what I'm going to look at, and the p-value. If this interaction is statistically significant, then I'm going to report that this interaction is significant, meaning that being a male or being a female has is a moderator to brief negotiation intervention. So that is how I'm going to report according to the results.
Doreen, we're gonna run out of time now. I just wanted to stop and give you a few comments thus far.
Okay.
The first one, great job so far. This has looked very thorough. I really like the tables, the shell tables that you have with the confidence intervals and the descriptive values that you're going to use, the metrics. One thing that I think you could do a bit better in explaining is on the data set that you're using. Let's describe it as the cleaned, cracked data set. The one that I shared with you, and we are being improving as we go, just so folks are aware that this is a single database. This is not coming from, I think you mentioned something like RedCap exports, but let's mention that this is the clean data set. Use some language to make that clear so that folks can understand that they can use a similar data set if they want to do some similar research as well. And by folks, I mean your advisors and your colleagues are going to read your SAP.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I want to ask you as well on the change on your outcome. You mentioned a few things as well for me, but to me this morning on changing the audit because to binge drinking because of the number of patients, etc. So you still need to make those changes to the SAP, to this version of the SAP, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
Okay, cool.
yeah. Because the last time that Dr. Catherine Joel came, I presented this idea and the SAP, and then we discussed on the outcome, and then we realized that audit is actually not reflecting the outcome they measured primarily. So and it was not actually significant at 3 months from the paper that was published. And the outcome that was significant was binge drinking and drinking days. So that's why I had to change from audit to drinking days, to binge drinking. Yes.
Got it. Got it. Okay. So my comment would be for you to one thing that we can do in terms of timeline would be for you to start working on those changes and implementing those changes to the SAP. And then we can schedule a meeting between you and I. So I have to use the time to go over after make the changes. If you need this to move fast, I mean, if you need the SAP to be done in a fast-paced way.
Yes, I agree. And I would make changes to this SAP according to what I'm currently doing. And then I'll share it with you. Plus also discuss on some of the primary results that I already have.
Awesome. So you already have results as well, right?
Yes, yes.
Great, great. Okay, that sounds like a plan. I apologize to cut us short here, but anyone would like to make comments? I know that Obali, you marked the screen there. Anything you wanted to comment?
Yeah, very brief one here. I see we are already out of time. I just thought that we would miss folks who are actually 30 years old. One of them should either be less than or equal to or greater than or equal to.
I see. I see.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Bali. This
Sure.
was just a visual to show like what I'm going to do, but this is not the actual thing that I'm going to do. It's just when I'm presenting it, it can bring that visual presentation for people to understand.
Cool.
Cool.
Yes.
Cool. But it's a good visual. Yeah. And looking at the visual as well, I already think about that some of these variables are not in the harmonized data set just yet. So maybe that's another thing for us to talk about and go over them.
Yes, I do agree.
Okay, nice. I see that you have the models there. I see that you have the functions.
Yes.
Yeah, very thorough. Well done.
Thank you.